Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to every one of you. So, we are again back with another round of conversations for the day, and yes, with another author live interview. So, thank you all for joining in. Hey, hi. Yes, again back for the day for the Saturday evening. I'm here. So, yes, let me quickly brief out to you all for the session. So today we are here with not with the author, just not with the author, but yes, with the two narrators who of the book. So I'll not reveal the name of the book right now. So let me first quickly send an invitee to the author so that we can. So yes, I've sent in the invitee and waiting for the author to join in the session. Okay. Here. Hey, hi, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So good to see you after a long time on my live session.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, darling?
I'm fine. Just
Yes.
waiting for the interview.
Yes, you're looking beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Brandy, do you want me to send the invite to the narrators as well or after some time?
You can send it to them now. You can introduce the book and then introduce them in.
Okay, that I'll do it. So yes, viewers, today we are having in front of us author Brandy Truly, our very known author who has been rewriting books. So today here we are for her audio book, that is Temptation Trials Rebellion, which is recently uh, can't hear, working on fixing sound. Okay, yes, please take your time and we'll send you the invitee, okay? Yes, please do that. So yes, I was there, Temptation Trials Rebellion, the recently launched audio book. So Brandy, before going on to the book, on to the details, on to the female, male narrators, please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Hi, I'm author B. Truly. Um, my first audiobook that I did, as she said, is Temptation Trials Rebellion. I wrote the book. It originally came out. It's 4 different versions. So it originally came out in 2017. And then wrote, everybody was asking about the guy's point of view, so I wrote the guy's point of view. And then I also was wondering about like the temperatures that are in the story, because it's like a lot of different characters that mix in with the main characters. So I wrote Temptation Trial Rebellion, was the last one, but I wanted it to be like a standalone, so you didn't have to read the other books to read that one. So I combined the characters together, the guys and the girls and the temperatures. And since audiobooks in the last couple of years, in America especially, has been like an ongoing thing. So because I really wasn't into audiobooks before, and I know it's expensive and stuff, but I kept hearing stuff. I got some seminars and stuff from people I follow about them. And last year I was like, let me listen to this. I was like, oh, this is kind of, interesting, because, I normally read books. So I was listening to some and I was like, wow, like this is kind of cool to like, it would be cool to hear like the characters come to life, because it's like another like, theater presentation of your books. It like actually brings the characters to life. So that's when I like kind of researched and looked into it, and like, it's like making ebooks still, like, because they're cheaper, like they still make the most money, but audiobooks is the most rising because all the authors are doing it, because it's just really amazing to hear you, like when you hear your story in life, it's like, oh my god, this is just so cool. So that's when I was looking into it, and I went with the Temptation Trials Rebellion because I thought it would be a good one to do. And I found two wonderful narrators, Fiverr, which will be with us today, representing the male and the female point of view story.
Oh, wow. That's lovely. I can totally understand, writing a book and then listening to the voiceover of the voice of different narrators. So it's totally a different experience. We'll discuss
Yeah.
about that further. The narrators are waiting. Let me quickly send an invite to them. So before I go further, I'd like to announce one more thing, that whosoever is active throughout the session and is watching the session throughout, we have kept a surprise gift that is of $10 to specific viewer, which will select from the list of the views, and that will be announced later on. I'll write the name of the viewer later on under the session and tag the Instagram ID as well. So yes, Brandy, I'll quickly send an invite you to the narrators. They are waiting in line and eager to join in the session. Then we can continue with our talk. So yes, I can only see Drew online. I cannot see Des. So yes. Hey, hi. How are you doing, Drew?
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Oh, that's really nice to see you on my conversation session. And
You as
welcome
well.
to the show.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Brad.
So, so Brandy is telling you hi. Are you able to hear?
Yes, I can hear.
Yes. Okay, so viewers, we have with us, joined with us now, Drew Cline, the male narrator of the book Temptation Trials Rebellion. So, Drew, before we go further, tell the viewers something about yourself.
Well, this was my first audio narration.
About yourself, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first time I'd ever done that before. It was exciting, and you know, it's something I'd always wanted to get into. Is when I was a kid, you know, doing voices with friends, and I finally got to do that with Brandy's help, and it was a really exciting experience.
Oh, yes, you know, Des is also there with us. So, hi Des, how are you? We cannot hear you. Is your not
Can you
obvious?
take can you take the microphone off maybe?
Just take off your
Maybe it's the microphone.
microphone.
Maybe it's your
Yes.
headphones.
Can you speak
Can you do
something?
it like not without the headphones?
Maybe some Instagram glitches going on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect,
Yes.
perfect. Yes, yes, you're there.
Okay,
So,
cool. I can hear you.
okay. So, viewers, again on board, we are having Des Astor, the female narrator of the book Temptation Trials Rebellion. So, further going with the session, I'll just give a small glimpse of who all have joined together. So, we have author Brandy Truly with us. We have the male narrator on my left, that is Drew Cline, and we have the female narrator, Des Astor. So, yes, welcome all of you to my session and hope you all are doing good.
Yes.
Yep.
It's Saturday, so we off. Well, I'm off. I hope you guys are fully off today too.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so Drew, you were introducing yourself. So please go ahead and complete it so that I can go on to Astor as well.
Sure. You know, as I was saying, you know, I've always liked, you know, doing voices. You know, growing up, I'm a big fan of movies and television and audiobooks as well. You know, I've been listening to audiobooks for the last decade, and you know, it's just something that I decided to get into, and it's been really fulfilling so far.
Oh, wow, that's
Thanks for asking.
lovely. Yeah, that's lovely. So, what's your name? Drew Cline or William Cline? I'm confused with both.
Well, either is fine. It's both. Both are correct. Yeah, both are correct.
But you go
Okay, fine. So
by
that's
William, right?
I
You go
do
by
go by
William.
William on
William.
the audio.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
William Cline on the audiobook, and then Family and Friends, Drew is my middle name.
Okay, so let's go with William Cline. That's better. So yes, here we come up with Des. How are you, Des?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, we are perfect over here. Good to see you here on my show. So yes, Des, please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Sure. I'm Des. I'm Astor, and I got into audiobooks and narrations about 2 years ago because I was reading during a Halloween event and people said that they liked my voice. So I started on that, started on a YouTube channel, and then started on audiobooks after learning about how to edit them properly. So it's been a really fun time. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Wow, that's lovely. So it's been how many years since you have been doing this?
Sorry, what?
since how many years you have been, speaking for audiobooks and YouTube channels and all?
About 2 years. And then I've been improving since then. I first didn't sound great when I started off, but I've gotten better.
That's perfectly. So, yes, yes, pardon, please.
I said practice makes perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that's
does.
true.
That's true.
That's true, correct. That's really true. So, before going on to the narrators and speaking about the, experience of the voiceover and the audiobook and all, I would like to ask Brandy, how was your experience writing this book?
It was fun and funny. It originally came about, believe it or not, I don't like reality shows. I think they're kind of rigged and over the top. But back in 2000, one of the shows I only watched reality show was Temptation Island, and I had watched that like I was like probably 20 in my early 20s then. So I had forgot about it. And because that's when it like originally came out, reality shows weren't really a thing then. So in 2015, I was online and I saw like a picture of it. I don't know. And I was just like, what? I was like, wait a minute, I watched this show before. And so I like clicked on it and then I was like, well, YouTube didn't exist back then. So I was like, I wonder if there's some clips on there. So I went to YouTube and I was watching some and I was just like kind of laughing. So I was like, why would people test their love in front of the whole world to see? Because, the flesh is weak. You're going to fall into temptation. That's why you don't put yourself in those situations. You work out your problems other ways, not by putting it with people that you are compatible with because, you're bound to like get into it. So I was like, it would have to be like, I was just thinking, because I was like, it would have to be like a traumatic situation for me to like do this. And I was like, what would force me to do this? Because I just couldn't think of a reason why. And that's when I kind of came up with, because I was into dystopian, that's when like Hunger Games and stuff was out and Divergent. Those when the dystopian was becoming popular. And I was like, it would have to be like I would have to be forced to be with somebody else. And so that's when I came up with the whole idea of the dystopian and the government forcing you to be married at the age of 21, like, and you had to, fill out a marriage application at the courthouse. Like those would be like I would do it at that point just to try because I have nothing to lose. And that's when I came up with these. The story just started telling itself to me, and then that's when I implemented like the paranormal thing. It's like. It's a catch to this because it's like, why would the government make you do this? What would they have to gain? So that's when I came up with the ideas. It's like the twist to this whole, soul thing, can true love really save your soul and love versus lust, and all concepts just started coming in. So I just started writing from 2015. I remember, it was New Year's Eve and I was like, it was, fireworks and all that going out and I was just typing and then I finally came out in 2017, but back then, a few people was doing audiobooks, but it wasn't like the end thing. So I just kind of wrote the books. But then, like I said, last year when I had got a seminar request in like August, but I had, it was really earlier in the summer, but I had forgot about it and I had been hearing about audiobooks and I was like, wait a minute, somebody sent me something, a link. And then I didn't know it was like the popular trend because I've listened to audiobook in the past, but it really didn't do much for me. Like I prefer reading. But now I was like, well, as an author standpoint, I think that'll be, kind of cool to like, cause, I was hearing some now and I was like, oh, well, these sound like these are pretty good. And I was like, oh, I think, this might be, interesting and fun to do something just different because I've written several books. So that's when I had came up with the idea, well, let me just try this. And it's, was really a fun experience to just hear, somebody reading your work and just make you smile.
Yeah, that I must say, it's really a different experience. Like you said, in 2015, when you started all this and all, and the first time when I had interviewed you, you have come up with the papers, the whatever notes you had made up for your writings and all and everything. But since years you are collecting it together and then filing it together in the books, I can understand how the author takes time and step by step. And now, like, see, you say, where whatever comes in, you just type and you just roll on and you just write it on.
You edit later. You just write the story in and you edit later.
Yeah, that's it. So coming to the narrators, so first I would like to ask William, how was your experience converting this book into an audiobook?
Well, I love the book. thought it was fantastic. I thought that Brandy did a really good job of doing the world building. Everything clearly had thought put into it. And when I got to the, sort of supernatural twist, I didn't see it coming, but I felt like it elevated like everything. I thought it was fantastic. And actually, like, finding the characters was a lot of fun. I nailed Cade. Like, I knew him right away. But it was a process, like, finding, like, Tobias, speaking back and forth with Brandy, like, about the characters and sort of, like, beyond the words on the page, like, who they were to her, and that was a lot of fun. And then trying to sort of embody that. Because again, we're not her, so we didn't write it. We can only sort of like filter through our creative process and like give her back what we think is close to, like what she was trying to get across. And that was awesome. Like just a really cool, like collaborative process that I thought was cool.
Yes, I must say yes, because the book, it is just like a post-apocalyptic nation ruled by a dictatorship where love becomes the ultimate battleground. So that's all I must say. The book starts with, and yes, coming to Des, how was your experience throughout this for the audiobook when Brandy gave you the script and you went through the book? So how did you feel? What was the script?
It was wonderful. Yeah, her writing is really great to read. It's very smooth. Sometimes I'll run into writing that isn't as smooth, but like the words could flow really well, and I could connect with the characters well. It was a lot of fun. I love the plots and like wondering what was going to happen next, and seeing the cute dates too, like with Kat and Cade and all. Yeah, the process was fun trying to figure out the characters. I think I got Kat pretty well the first time. We tried a southern accent for Sahara, and we decided to go for a different route with that. It would be my first time doing a southern accent anyway, but so we found a good flow for Sahara too. So I had a really good time with figuring that out and fleshing out characters that way and learning the story. So I was on the edge of my seat with the plot. Really great writing. So it was fun.
Yes, the audiobook is narrated with passion and intensity, I must say. And both the narrators, they have given the voiceovers very well. So, William, tell us about your character, the voiceover which you have given to the character. How did you feel the character was?
Well, I just really tried to approach it from the standpoint of like, these are real people, so like they all have different voices, they all have different hopes and dreams, and the sort of base level for me of where I would come in with the characters is like, what is this person's like driving emotion? And with a lot of the male characters, it was very much sort of a battle. Like they were, it was like a war of their morality, but like not just their morality, but like the love that they had for these women and like the temptation. So I just tried to build it up from there, if that makes sense.
No, okay. Coming to this, about your part of the character and the voiceover. How was your experience and how did you feel your part of the voiceover?
Yes, that was I love the backstory given for Kat and Sahara. That's what really like helped me connect and feel with the characters. Felt really bad for Kat in the situation with her brother and having to pretty much like, she was fighting for his life at that point, everything. There were no more options for her, and she tried really hard to not get attached. But in the end, all of the supernatural elements and chemicals in the hair got her. And the connections, because they had, spoilers, I don't want to do too much of that, but a lot of things went wrong that she didn't plan on. Same with Sahara too, and just the betrayal of love and the thought that you really can't, not really being able to connect with love. That was really important with her backstory, and I felt for her too. It was really sad. So like the backstories in both instances really helped me get into character, and then as the story went on too, just being able to feel their passion and emotions and just how the tragedy hit and just the really positive emotions that would eventually fade into the end of the book where things all went wrong, really wrong.
Yeah, it is, it is. Till the end, it keeps the viewers, hooked with it. Even it's an audiobook, you both have done an excellent range of voices for different character, making it an engrossing story to listen. I must say that.
Thank you.
Hey.
One thing I would say about what I've learned with listening to different audiobooks, and I love about William and Des, is you don't just like read the author's writing, you kind of act it or show it, because I've listened to a lot of them and they're just kind of like you're just reading the words, but when you're talking in a real conversation, it has to kind of flow naturally, and you can tell the difference when somebody is just reading it versus like they're actually like talking. Even during the narration part, you have to like not just like you're just reading a book. And so that's what makes the difference and makes it like real life. And they really nailed that part, because everybody said, like, it was a lot of people that, on your review team and stuff that just said they never even listened to an audiobook before and they wasn't, even interested. But the way they spoke, it was just like, TV, like it was a real conversation. They didn't feel like they were getting, read the book. They feel like they were getting told the book. And so that's what, I think makes the big difference, is that emotion. And they are both very good at it. And that's what made it successful in people that wasn't even interested in audiobooks, but just, decided to give it a try because they know me or you, or the, blurb sounding interesting, and it was a very positive experience for them. So you have to find narrators that can give that emotion and know it's voice acting, it's not voice reading.
Well, I mean, it's almost too. It's not the same as theater. There's not an audience of people sitting out in the seats watching you, but like, it's similar to theater in so much that you're intoning to the shadows, and in this case, it's the shadows to the people listening.
Yes.
I think a huge difference too is the first person versus third person. I've noticed that being able to speak an audiobook in first person is a lot easier to actually get into character and voice act than third person. From my own experience with audiobooks, it's easier in that case, I think.
Yeah, it is, I must say. But how do you select, as a narrator, like how do you select the book or a specific genre? And how do you give the voiceover? Because, each and every part in the audiobook has different emotions, different feelings. So, you need to, at times, slow down your tone, raise your tone. Then how do you do that part? First, I would like to ask Des about that.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, yes.
Sorry. You kind of get into the story and sort of read the emotional cues of the writing. So like if, for example, action scenes, I'll talk faster, and that's when the pacing will go a lot faster. But if you're trying to build tension, you go a lot slower, and like you slow down just how you're saying things, your voice, and you make it very serious. It's kind of like watching a show in your head. That's what I hear when I'm reading too. Like, if during an action scene it's really fast, but during the dramatic tense scenes it goes a lot slower. And then like during like love scenes or romantic scenes, your voice also goes a bit slower, a bit more passionate and such like that. So you read the emotional cues from the writing and you go from there pretty much.
Yeah, perfectly right, I must say about that. And same goes to William. How was your experience, like, about the tones, like I asked about this, when there is something romantic, there is emotional, there is something which you need to lower down your voice and the tone should be a little soft. Tell us your experience throughout about that.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I come from a background of writing myself. And so if you were to see the difference between the actual, like, the novel that Brandy sent me to like my reading draft is like completely different, because I've got like the dialogue split up and like broken out like if it was a screenplay, separate from the actual narration pieces, and like different characters are highlighted with different colors, so it like tells my brain I don't even have to think you know, about which character is speaking. Like orange is Kate, blue is Tobias, you know. So like I go through it in a very different way from just reading it as a book. So I sort of set myself up with these emotional cues, you know, reading it up beforehand. You know, like I'll put in parenthesis, like, you know, angry voice, or, you know, like frustration or sad or lost, like right before the dialogue. So it tricks my brain into just going like, all right, I know exactly what I need to do here. Like it's a whole roadmap.
Oh yes, that's the part each and every author or audiobook narrator they plays in, and I must say each and every person has its own difficult job to do in, and you both have done it very nicely. So, any such dialogue which you both of you remember and want to discuss, speak up in front of the viewer? Any such line from the audiobook, if you can recall? Janvi, you can help
I
them
say it's
out.
a lot of them because I purposely, you know, it's a serious book as well as I wanted it to be comical for some reason. So I mean, I guess I don't know, like thought of this as like with other dystopians, they just all serious, but I don't know, I wanted to throw some humor in there. So I made Zimmerman off of like the guy from Hunger Games because I thought he was just really, you know, over the top, and the stuff he would say, but he was like totally serious. So I would have him like just asking, you know, crazy questions, and he's like serious about them, and you're like, you know, if you don't want to answer, he'll like threaten you or throw your past in the face. And the Dez did a really good job with him, and I purposely made like all the enforcers' names like I looked up like horrible last names, and like Enforcer Malox and Menage, and I purposely just picked because I think, you know, most people could pick up like, is this really this person's name? But they were supposed to be like, you know, Mrs. Cobbledick. Like these are people's real last names, and some of them I never heard of, but I like picked them out purposely just to throw humor in because I was like, you have to say this. And so like it was funny reading it, but you know, even just hearing one of my author friends I work with, Kat Mayer, like she was like, man, it was funny like reading it, but she was like, I almost peed my pants just like hearing somebody say the stuff they're saying. It's just like hilarious, and they both had me like cracking up when they were saying it. So like William was really good. He's good with, you know, changing the dynamic characters. Like he's really good with changing his voices. So he did a good job like with Eminence, you know, because I'm sure he pictured him, he's a dictator of the world, and he's supposed to be, you know, arrogant and good looking. So he had like this very like arrogant voice. And then like for one of the characters, Thomas, he's like a tall redhead, but you know, you wouldn't expect him to have this like English accent. So that he kind of just read between the lines, like, okay, this is this character's description, and you know, if you say the character's from England or British, then if you can do those accents, you just kind of implement that, and that just helps make it more realistic. And Des is very passionate with like the romance scenes, and she kind of did the same thing. Like I gave them some instruction, but when you read and see how, like she was saying, cues from a thing, you can kind of see what, okay, this is what the characters are saying. So it's obvious that if it's an action scene, you don't want to just sound like dull and monotone. I need to, you know, ramp it up. And, you know, if it's an exclamation point, then you know that you have to like, you know, hi. Or if it's in italics, you have to just say, I can't. Like, and that stuff you just should know, because in your head, when I read exclamation, I'm going to elevate my voice, or I'm going to emphasize the italics. So I didn't even have to give them those instructions, because those are like the basic things that cross over, and they both did a very good job. So I guess each one can say like some scenes maybe that stuck out to them that was funny or that they enjoyed from, you know, the different characters.
Well, piggybacking off what Brandy was just saying, I would like to point out that like one of the things that I like so much about this book is that not only are the main characters well written, but the side characters have a lot of thought put into them as well. You know, there's a pair of priests. I'm not going to get into any spoiler territory, but there's a pair of priests that like really stuck out to me as, you know, like well-rounded, like idealized characters. Like she was saying earlier, the security guards were hilarious. Like that was some of the most fun audio recording I got to do, was sort of like finding the like inherent, I don't want to say cartoonish, but like enhanced like misogyny that like some of these guys had, and then playing Lutheran was awesome. I mean, like, what a cool bad guy! Like, it was really, really awesome.
Yeah. Would you like to say anything, Des, over here?
Yeah, pretty much. I loved. I had a lot of fun with Zimmerman and saying the exaggerated voice lines and the way he sounded. That was really fun. And there were a lot of very strange questions that it was fun to get the characters to be like, what the heck? Basically, I don't know if I can cuss on here, so but they pretty much, it was fun writing out those reactions, and then the date scenes were also really sweet too. I found the dolphin scene to be very funny because I was wondering, because I'm someone into biology, I'm like, is this little piece of dolphins going to come up? And it did, and I started chuckling at that too. Some takes I had to redo because I was laughing, which was a lot of fun. So, but yeah.
So was there any part in the narration where you found that it was difficult to narrate?
I have to think about where it was difficult. Pretty much some, like, if it was like a sadder scene or something, sometimes I had to retake because I was, you could get emotional when you're narrating. So, like, you have to pause maybe and either re-say a scene, definitely during, like, people coming to terms with the death in the book. So stuff like that. And the build up with stuff like that. So anything like super emotional, or if sometimes you have to like just re-say a line just because it sounds much better if you say it in a different way. So no particular parts, but just any of the emotional parts, you have to make sure you nail them down.
Yes. Would you like to add anything, William, over here?
Yeah, there was a couple times where I got frustrated from my boy Tobias, just with what he was dealing with and going through, where, man, he got it tough, like, throughout that. So, like, that is a roller coaster of a storyline with him. I don't know, I felt protective of the guy. Like, it was a good experience.
Yes, I must say. So coming to Brandy, tell us about the characters, more about the characters. Like, this is a book. It is like a post-Apollo society under a dictatorship which controls everything, including love and emotions, where citizens are forced into arranged marriage. Not being a spoiler here, you can roll on with the further part and tell us something more about the characters.
Okay, well, Catalina, like, as for the main characters, I think, as I was saying, putting myself in their place, that would be kind of easy as to, like, if this was to really happen and you were forced at 21 to get married, like, and a lot of people just try not to fall in love, but I don't really think you can control who you love. You can try to fight it, but you just have connection with sometimes. So I can see them entering the trials, but it kind of made me think of, like, because the temperatures, because I wrote this book last, I was like, I didn't know much about them, so I had to get in their heads because I wanted to do something, different, because most of the time you hear about, like, the main characters. So I made the temptresses main characters in this one because I was like, well, why would the temptresses, like, get into this other than, and most people look at them as home wreckers because, like, they're basically, breaking up the relationship from the other end of the main character. So what would, why would they enter it? So I didn't want it to be something just like vain, like, oh, I'm just, because most people have a show to make trouble. So I kind of like start thinking like, well, what made Catalina do this? And then I came up with the concept where, her sick brother, because if you enter the show, you get a big like endorsement fee for being on the show, whether you chosen or not. And so that's when I came up with her as a reason, like, okay, well, if I had a loved one that was sick and, if I went on a show and the only way, I know I would get money from them regardless, then to me that would be a reason that I'm just going to do this, because at the end of the day, I could maybe save my loved one's life. So that's when I came up with hers. And then Sahara, like, I wanted to do something opposite. I didn't want it to be the same. So hers is like she had some trouble in her past and was kind of falsely accused. And back then, they didn't tolerate any kind of curfews, and if you were like, if someone like accused you of like messing around with their husband, they would slap you with the blasphemy charge. You know, I purposely looked up blasphemy and thought of the name. So, and she wanted to go to college, which was hard to get into anyway. So she entered because she wanted to get Astor, Tobias, and Cade. They were the main characters. They both had fell in love like a year before this. They met Callie and Stefani at a party, and then because parties were illegal, and so it was raped, and they got tasered and all this other stuff, and ended up, getting broken out of jail. But they met the girls there, and they tried to fight their friends, but they couldn't, and they both ended up falling in love. So that's why they entered. And another thing we have main characters that I like is I like to have different personalities. So I made Catalina is more like the sweet, easygoing one, and then Sahara's more fighter and she's feisty. And then Tobias, he was hot-headed. Kay was a little more easygoing. So you want to incorporate characters. It's important. I like to have them different, and then opposites attract. Normally, a lot of times with friends too. So I purposely try to, make the characters stand out and make them a little bit different. They, it wouldn't be, really as good to have the same personality. I think it's good to just have, a different variety, because we, all have different personalities. So that's how I kind of started the incorporation. And when I do characters, I have a big skit, because I normally write high character, books, because I prefer a lot of dialogue when I'm reading. So I, tend to write as well. I like a lot of conversations, so it gets to be a lot of characters. But you kind of get to know them, and when you're writing them, you're like, okay, well, if this person is hot-headed, this is how they react, and stuff like that. Or if they more calm mannered, then they would act more this way. But I think when emotion is driving, you may act a way that you didn't even know that you would react. And that's why I purposely had, a lot of times I make it where I'll say stuff I don't, I say it and I mean it at that time because I'm angry. And then if I get mad at my husband or something, I really be mad, or just oh God, and then just a day or two later, I'm just oh, I'm just over, it's fine. And the personality is gonna click. So he after 6 seasons, because season 6 is when it starts. After 6 seasons, season 6 for a reason, 6 up to play into different things that I want to do. So, but he always got all of the seasons. He was always ultimate natural. So everybody would say, "Oh, I don't feel the person." It's see, the knows best. So, and people didn't really even see what was going on until these characters kind of dug into it.
Yes, perfectly said. I must say, may it be Catalina, Sahara, Kate, Tobias, each and every character are portrayed very well in the book. From the start till the end, the audiobook keeps the viewers or the listeners, hooked with it, because the voiceovers by the narrators have been given is very wonderfully done. Wherever the tones are needed, you have given that high and low pitch sound is there. I had come up with many of the people had come in my DM, and they had said me, his Brandy has done an amazing job, and especially the narrators, they have given the lovely voiceover to it. So, coming to the part of the book, it is the book, as we know, as a post-apocalyptic society. So what do you like to say as the narrators about the post-apocalyptic society? What are your suggestions on that?
I thought it was unique. I think that the idea of an apocalypse has fascinated humanity forever, going back to the beginning. There's always been the end times are coming, the end times are coming. And I thought that this was a unique and fully realized version of what one of those possible potential futures could look like. I liked the addition of the politics. I thought that it added an extra level of realism. I thought that in a world like ours, which is getting more and more and more technologically involved with the media that a sort of dating show like this could be a realistic thing within the next 50 years. So, you know, as I was reading it, I was very much like, yeah, I can see this. Like, so yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
And anything you want to like to add into this?
Yeah, dystopia is a genre that I really love, and you know, have a lot of experience with. So I really enjoyed the dystopic element, and of course the paranormal element. I'm a big fantasy paranormal fan, so when that part came on, it was a lot of fun to see some of the really supernatural elements and the mystery behind it too, like the mist and just the nature of it. It's like, what is that? What's going on? And why can you kind of see through it? What's it causing? So it certainly reminded me, like the chemical portions and such, and the drugs and all, reminded me a little bit of a horror piece that I really love, Cabin in the Woods. It's horror comedy. It's I don't see it as horror, but I see it as parody, or not parody, but satire. And there was this part where people were acting different because there were chemicals, like, you know, released into the air, and they were like on sort of a game show, sort of, not really a game show. They didn't know it. They weren't aware of it, part of the horror element. But it really reminded me of that, and how, like, different things like that can really affect your mind, either, you know, through the air or in your food and such, which was pretty creepy to realize, but it's, you know, that part was realistic and just very off-putting, and really added to the dystopic element of it, and just why people would make those decisions and act differently than what they would have normally because they were under the influence of whatever it was. So I found that.
Yeah, perfectly, yes. I must say, you know, this book can be also read as a stand-alone to all the listeners, those are listening this. The story starts with the premise of a government-sponsored reality TV show, and furthermore, it goes on. So, Brandy, coming to you, after you wrote the book, you might be in search of, you know, the narrators, the male and the female narrators. So, how difficult it was for you to search William and Des?
I actually lucked out with them because with Fiverr it's a little bit different up on other platforms, but like I put in a job thing, but it was and I put like the descriptions and the male and then female and like what I was looking for, and it was like pairing me with people that it wasn't even like the genres and stuff. So I was just like, I need to fix this. Like, so I just started looking myself. Like I typed it in and I manually did it, and then I came across Des first, and I listened to some of her pieces, and because I knew like passion and emotion was an aspect of the book, and so when I heard her samples, I was like, oh, she has a really nice voice. I think she would be good at it because it's it's 18 a book, so some people they like mouth and stuff. Or kid books. So I knew we had somebody that they were okay with 13 already, like more adult scenes. But I knew that violence, she might be interested. So I sent her an invite, and she was interested, and she sent me a audio sample. I mean, I feel that's important. Like I always ask for a little sample because you might hear them reading other stuff, but you want to still make sure they're, real good how you envision the character, or they might have a different voice that you can even envision that works. So when she sent it, I was like, oh, she would be, good for this, and I signed her up. I had some other people on audition as well, but I just thought she was the best, and the same thing. I found William the same way, and I had a couple of auditions, but nobody could, he just like threw me away with his. I liked his samples, and I had other people, and I was like, no, this guy's just perfect, and so I, went with him. But it, it was a very process. I was working on another audiobook book, and it was like a disaster. 3 narrators that couldn't commit, and so it's very hard to find somebody that can do the voice, the budget, and commit. So it's a very fulfilling process when you can find somebody that works and that is dedicated like these two are, and it's very the process smoothly, deliver on time. they're not delivering, and what's going on, because I like that, I'm very communication, so that can give a lot of headache. You don't really, you're not working with people before, so I like to speak to people that I work with, and I know reliable, because I'm very reliable, and if something happens, I'm going to let you know. I'm just not going to, so I was very, impressed when they said there. Sometimes I had a bad experience with them before, and when if they more time to they communicated, and it's very important on both aspects of it.
Okay, that's each and every of some of the other things, either like a book or even or in an audio book. Both the narrator a very good job. I would like to say to this, any one character you would like to speak about, that it would be.
You breaking up to me. What did you say you were breaking up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we couldn't hear you.
William and Des, that if you would like to speak about any one of the characters from the audio book, which one it would that be?
That's tough.
I know it.
What about you, Des?
I use Tanmeen's voice for Cat, so probably be the. But Sahara was fun too. I loved her stuff, so it's a hard choice.
It's a lot of.
I think at the end of the day, Kate's probably my favorite. But Tobias was great, and the bad guy was fantastic.
Yes, totally. Everyone has loved Kate more. I see that.
Yeah, I think people for some reason connected to Cat more, like more people in reviews. Like, it's not that they didn't dislike Sahara, but I think in an humbling situation, more emotional, if somebody is doing something for a loved one, because they can, I guess, put themselves in their shoes. I would do that, for instance. Like, if you're in trouble with the law, even if you're possible, like, that happens. But I think it's more heart touching if, okay, this person is doing this love, like, I, root for that person. So not like the other person that you have a favorite. I mean, I like Kate and I like them equally. I can't really say like I have a favorite. I really was I think a lot of times the story tells, like, I'll write and say sometimes I think this is character, because I'll see a scene in a flash in my head and I have to write it out. So it's different writing out and flash what you get. So I have to fill in that part. But a lot of times I feel like I say, I don't tell a story, the story tells me. I just feel it in and I never tell a story. I don't know how I will get, middle end. To me, the first chapter is the hardest to write out. Really, so it's probably the hardest one to do because you with. But I just get it all over the place. Like any story I just this was here, this scene goes there. But I wasn't really happy with the book about to eyes and about to write it. I just feel like if I didn't do it, because no matter what I did, it just keeps sometimes you have to do stuff that the story tells you because true to it. So I didn't like that aspect of it. Like it's not always just a happy. You just have to find happiness in life. Life, especially nowadays, is tough. And I hope that it never turn into a temptation. And a lot of people seem like they can imagine this, happen. And in America, a lot of times we take that freedom for granted because not all countries have that, and I think it's a privilege to debate. A lot of things we do and people take for granted.
Yes. I must say, each and every character, like I said, has been portrayed very because they have loved them as such. Temptation is a thrilling audio that is both heart-pounding there. It's a listen for fans of and anyone who is hoping story of rebellion by this. And at last, I would like to thank both the narrators, the narrator, William and Katie, and introducing your voice overs which you have given and William. It was truly captivating experience. And to both of you, and Brandy comes up with more plans. We come up with such more sessions in future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. So it was a lovely time connecting with you over here. And thank you so much for the voiceovers given. You both a happy weekend. See you. Bye bye.
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 Brandy, I would be there with you.
Hmm?
Yeah, Brandy, I will be there with you. Yes. Yeah. So, Brandy, so the narrators have given their experience, everything you said about your experience. So many viewers came and joined. Yeah, it was really an enthusiastic session, I must say. So, are you coming up with the second part of Temptation Rebellion?
What did you ask? I'm sorry.
Are you coming up with the second part of Temptation Rebellion?
Oh, that was actually the fourth book, but I do have a future book that'll be the prequel. She was a side character in this book, but the first book I wrote with Callie, she was actually the first character I wrote. I do have a story that about her sister where she's actually does have, because I've done like the main characters and I've done like the temptresses and told you the story, but I haven't done a story about someone that actually was forced and had to go through the marriage, that they didn't get no say in it. So her sister, which is mentioned in the story, actually had to get married because it was earlier on when the rules and the dictator, because he's been a dictator for 9 years. So it was in the beginning when she had to do marriage application and she actually had to get married. So I hadn't did a story on that, and I wanted to do a story on that. So I will be doing eventually a prequel. So that will be the last story to that. And it is in the future I do have a spin-off which will be totally different characters, like way into the future, because it deals with the 7 deadly sins. That is the main character, and this was the first sin of lust. So there's 6 more sins. So I'll be doing it, I don't know when I have, it'll be about it'll be the main character's children. So the spinoff will be based on the other sins that are left. So there will be some time in the future. They have different names, but it will be like a spinoff of the Temptation series.
Yeah, we will be eagerly waiting for that. And again, coming up with such intriguing session with the narrators and the author as well. And like I must say, you have weaved a narrative that keeps the listeners on the edge of their seats. So keep continuing this sequel and the prequel, whichever you like to bring in for the listeners. And fingers crossed for the next parts also. Bring such more books, such audio books. Yeah, people are loving that, because now from the paperback, from the Kindle, something new, the viewers, the listeners are getting to go in and roll in for. So yeah, it was a lovely time listening to your audiobook, interacting with your narrators, with you as well. So would you like to say anything to the viewers, Brandy?
Thank you for all your support, and I'm glad that it was a good audiobook experience, because like I said, it was the first one that I've done, so I wanted to turn out well, and I'm pleased that y'all love the narrators like I did, and I really think they did a great job in bringing the book to life, because as I've told them, I have the story, but if you don't, with audiobook, the narrators are just as important, because if they don't deliver your story properly, then it's not going to turn out well. And they did a fantastic job, and I'm glad that everyone enjoyed the experience. Thank you for your support.
Always a pleasure. And before I wrap up with this session, I would like to say, the previous book which Brandy has written, she has been honored and won finalist award for the book for the novel Corn of Secrets and the Next Generation Indie Book Awards 2023. So yes, congratulations Brandy for that, and congratulations for this audiobook. People are loving, viewers are loving that. And once again, thank you to William and Des, and thanks to you Brandy for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. It was very fun and interesting with the joined one. I really liked it. It was kind of different. So.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we'll come up with more such sessions, Brandy. And take care. Bye-bye. Wish you a happy weekend.
Okay, you too.
Yes. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.